topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from experts on such topics as legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to our experts in community association law, estate planning law, tax relief, Medicare, public insurance adjusters, neuropathy treatment, business brokers, and personal injury law, along with many other topics. Now here's your host for the last 17 years, Steve O.
Good afternoon, Florida, rainy Florida. Hey, this is hurricane season. Just started on June 1st, and I was just talking to our great expert that, hey, they've already seen the first disturbance in the Gulf, and it's got a 60% chance of possibly going into a hurricane. And the reason why we're talking about weather is we have got one of the top public insurance adjusters in the state of Florida. And I'm going to tell you something. I know there's a lot of people out there who have no idea what a public adjuster is, because I was one of those people about 20 years ago. And boy, did I learn what a public insurance adjuster is. Hey, in a good way, And I want to tell you, just so you know, that I was offered by my insurance company $30,000, which some people would say, hey, it's a lot of money for the damage. But when I finally got a public adjuster, now every case is different, but when I got a public adjuster, they got me $135,000. So this is why a show like this is so important. And I'm telling you, and then we have got, and I know our great expert, Joy Alarcon, will tell you, we've got so many people moving down here from New York who might not have ever felt what it's like to have a hurricane in Florida. Hey, good afternoon, Joy.
Hi there. How are we doing today? How's everything?
Nice rainy day, right?
Well, it's sunny over here in Miami.
Oh, okay. That's okay. You're usually the first ones to get the hurricane when it comes in, so you're excused.
That's true. That's true. It hits us first in Florida.
I was just telling Joy that our last show that we did last month, she won some kind of TikTok award for the top show. And it was so cool because she's put a lot of time and effort into her background, and it had a picture of her in her background. So thank you, TikTok. I want to go make sure that, excuse me, just there we go. Okay. So Joy, tell us about exclusive PIA.
Well, exclusive PIA. PIA stands for Property Insurance Adjuster. I know a lot of people just see it as PIA, but that's not what we are. Yes. So basically, a public adjuster is someone that represents a homeowner. Well, same thing, property adjuster, but at the level that we work, we specifically represent homeowners, property owners, in any type of insurance claim. Same way the insurance company has their own adjusters, we're basically your private adjuster. We would be working just for you.
Yeah, I had a lot of people that wrote into the show last time wondering if you handle businesses, which you do.
Yes. business, commercial. We've even done some boat claims. Anything that you can insure that has insurance, that's usually when an adjuster would be required. If you suffer any type of damage, that's a large loss that you're going to pay big time out of your pocket. Same thing like if you have a car accident, right? And it's like a total loss. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need a public adjuster for auto per se, but in some cases, some people do need it. What we do is that we help people to understand the insurance policy and the process that insurance companies have when you file a claim.
So when a person has a claim, and I'm getting these questions right now from both YouTube and on TikTok, people want to know, when do they contact you?
Well, okay. The best time to contact us is when you think you have a damage or when you're trying to assess the severity of a situation and how big that claim is going to be. I guess I can relate it, for example, to, let's say, you might want to have, for example, a plumber's number handy, right? Because a plumber is a person that you call when you need to assess, hey, do I have a leak? Where is this water coming from? When you have a situation like that, right? So in a lot of ways, we kind of work similarly, not because I'm a plumber, but for example, if you have a loss, you have a damage that's happening in your house, and you want to know, is it worth me filing a claim for this? That's where it's important, because let's say that you think you might have a damage on your roof, or you don't know if you have a damage on your roof. There may be some deductibles that are very, very high. It may or may not make sense depending on the type of loss, depending on what exactly happened. So that's why it would be so important and beneficial to call us immediately if you think you have a damage, because then we can come out and assess that situation. We do free inspections, we do free evaluations. Another good time to call us is if you have a claim that you've been paid out on, but you're not sure if you got paid appropriately. Of course, if you received a certain amount of money and you're happy with that, then that would be great. But you also lose nothing by calling an adjuster and saying, a public adjuster, and saying, I'd like to know basically what your expectation on a claim like this would be that I should get paid. Did I get appropriately paid? Did they assess all of the damages that I have? And with our trained eyes, a lot of times we're able to spot damages in areas that are consequential, that are not that obvious when you see a certain situation. Sometimes that can happen with leaks because leaks are behind walls. So consequentially, there could be, let's say, that a leak that's damaging your electrical system. There's a lot of details that can be broken down in a claim, case by case situation that may or may not affect the bottom line and the number that you're going to be getting back from your insurance.
Yeah, I can't tell people how important this show is, because first of all, Joy, you know this, a lot of people don't even know what is in their policies, do they?
I agree 100%. It's unfortunate that it's that way, but I can certainly understand it. I think that it happens kind of to all of us. It's like when you get like a terms of services for a phone or for something, not everybody reads all of that, but it could cost you a lot. Remember that your insurance policy for your home is basically insuring the biggest asset that you have. So it's really important to know what it is that you're doing. It's very important to also think of the fact that you oftentimes, everybody wants the best rate, for their insurance. And so when you deal with your insurance agent and you ask them for your best rate, or when you change over to another policy, especially, or they renew you, believe me, every single time that your policy changes over, there's some changes in that policy that you've got to look at. I was just thinking today of some of the things that people can do to become more prepared in the situation of trying to understand the policy. And I would say that one of the biggest things that you could do is to call your insurance agent and ask them some really specific questions about your policy. You know, even if you don't want to do that, you could even shoot us a copy of that policy via email or via text, where we could also tell you that, hey, there's an endorsement now on this policy that could affect how much money you get if a hurricane happens. But you need to know that in advance. You know, I had a couple of hurricane claims in the past where homeowners have been, unfortunately, given very, very low payment from the insurance policy because they, quote unquote, accepted a discount on their policy. So that's not even worded correctly, because it's not really a discount after they take the deductible out and they keep a recoverable depreciation that they don't want to give it to you. So there's a lot of these technical things that will make anybody dizzy. That's what we're here for, to kind of break it down to you and give you the actual perspective of what you will and won't possibly get. You know, it's not because you're trying to premeditate, anything that's going to happen, but you want to know in case it happens, whether you have adequate coverage, whether the insurance company that you have maybe is not one of the best, or, these are important things I would want to know prior to something happening. Of course, nobody knows if something will happen, but if it does, at least you'll have an idea how covered you are.
Yeah, it is so important. I brought up at the first of the show, we're going to be talking about hurricanes. This is the season for the next June through sometimes as much as the end of November. Here in Florida, it gets bad. What is the best things that a homeowner can do right now to prepare themselves for any future impending hurricanes this season?
Yes, that's a great question, and that's what I've been thinking about constantly right now. We do this year after year. It is very, like I said, it's very important that you locate your insurance policy. A quick phone call to your insurance agent right now would be great, because you can tell them, number one, send me a copy of all of my policies. Why do I say this? Because a lot of people are under the assumption that they have homeowners insurance and flood insurance. Not everybody has flood insurance. You want to know that in advance. These are two separate policies. You want to know things like, do I have coverage for personal property? And that would be on each policy, because you could have certain damages to your home. And this isn't singled out only for hurricane. Remember that there are other catastrophic things that, God forbid, would happen, but could happen, like a fire. How would you know if you have coverage for personal property damage? If you have coverage for being displaced, where you have to go to a hotel, will your insurance cover those things? These are important questions we should all know if we're policyholders. It's important, I would say, also to document the condition of your property right now, which is another service that we would offer for free. But not just, you don't only have to call a public adjuster for that. You could start going around your property, interior and exterior, and take photos of some of the conditions of your property as it is today. Because down the road, there might actually be some sort of a argument in regards to your coverage that could have to do with how well you maintain your property. Wouldn't it be great if you have some photos to document that your roof wasn't missing any shingles before the hurricane happened? Or, things like this that are important details which can actually help you.
Yeah, we're getting so many questions in, Joy. Here's kind of an unusual question. Of course, this is definitely a Florida person from TikTok. He says, we are inundated by iguanas.
Oh,
They have caused my property so much damage. Does my insurance policy cover me for iguanas?
not typically, no. It's usually quite an exclusion, that anything that's not although this could be a sudden and accidental loss, it has to be storm related. It has to be something that you were not anticipating. I mean, the only other thing that we could say is you never know until you read that policy fully. There could or could not be some sort of an endorsement or some sort of language. But let's face it, in reality, no. Especially like it happens too with rodents. I had a gentleman that called me just actually a couple of weeks ago because he had major damage to his roof shingle. And so when he showed me these photos, he explained to me that it was actually a raccoon that went underneath his solar panels and started to just tear up shingles. And no, that's not necessarily, we got to really look at the policy. We got to see what it is that caused the damage. These are usually isolated for wind damage, fire damage, lightning strikes, fires, but you never know, like I said, until you read the policy. You got to read it. It's important.
I got to tell people it is so important that you write Joy's phone number down now, because God forbid in August we have, for example, a hurricane or major windstorm, and you're going to go, what was that public adjuster's name? Let's make sure. Joy, give them your phone number and your website address.
Sure. Well, you can reach us at 800-593-9853. That's our main office line. We're available to you. We also have our website, www.exclusivepiaclaims.com.
And how does, you kind of went over this, how does a public adjuster help before there is any damage?
Well, before there is any damage, basically knowledge is power. We help you to understand why it's important that you know your policy coverage. I've taken several policies into my hands to review for people and given them awareness that their deductible is $20,000, is $40,000. It depends on the percentage of and the overall value of your property. I've given people awareness at times that they don't have water damage coverage or that they don't have coverage in the event of a hurricane. Imagine that. They don't know that. They're just paying the policy. But once they sat down and they talked to me, or I went to do a free inspection, lo and behold, hey, ma'am, look, I need to let you know that your policy is not showing coverage for this. Now, thank goodness, they've been able to go and make the change that they need to, contact their insurance, and we've been able to make sure that they actually do everything they need to so they could get back on track and have the actual adequate coverage that they need. Awareness is very important.
I'm wondering if are some of the homeowner insurance companies pulling out of Florida? Are they still doing that?
I don't know exactly which companies those might be at the moment. Florida is a state that has so many different changes, and things have gotten quite difficult over the years in sense of new laws that are much more stringent. Before I started in 2018. And when I started, this was around the time of Hurricane Irma. There wasn't the same type of roof endorsements that exist now, where they basically are telling you, if the shingle itself isn't damaged by a specific actual damage, like a wind debris or a hurricane, all the other shingles, they're not going to get replaced. So what do you think happens? Your settlement amount, what you were going to get from your insurance coverage, is going to be much, much, much less. These are important factors, things that have trickled down from 2018 all the way to now. The changes have been major. In some cases, there's no more matching. In other cases, there's a lot of different things that you need to pay attention to, which may or may not be worth having insurance. Some people will tell me it's not worth it, depending on the property or how much the value is. A lot of people like to self-insure, and that's an interesting thing, because Imagine a homeowner telling you, I just rather have, X amount of money in my bank account for my property just so that I can replace my roof on my own. A lot of people that have gotten sick and tired of the insurance companies and have done such a thing.
Going now back to, God, there's just so many people writing questions in with TikTok. By the way, you don't just handle hurricanes. There's other things that you handle, right?
Absolutely. I've taken on cases of fire claims. Those are very catastrophic damages. It's unfortunate. And those are the claims where I feel that my passion shines the most, where my, the actual rewarding feeling to help a person out in their situation is felt the most. It makes me feel extremely happy to be able to help a family that is being told by their insurance that their claim is only X amount of money, and then open the door for hundreds of thousands of dollars plus more into their hands just because they were able to get my expertise on the situation and find out how much more money was being left on the table that the insurance company doesn't come and offer. We've dealt with lightning strikes. Lightning strikes are incredibly tricky claims because you won't believe how much damage a lightning strike can actually do to your house. We're talking about the plumbing inside the walls rattle. Sometimes people's entire home security system goes. The roof could get a hole in it. Fires can happen from an actual lightning strike. There's a number of different types of losses, even flood. Flood is a very, very difficult loss to help people with, and it's very devastating, these types of losses. So it's great to have somebody that when you're dealing with that situation and it's really, really difficult to get your mind around all the things that you have as a homeowner, right? You're dealing with the stress of the loss. Isn't it great to just let that burden on the hands of a professional that knows the insurance policy, knows the process, knows that they're going to guide you through? And so that's another super valuable thing that we bring to the table. We relieve you of that stress and help you so that you could just focus on getting your life back together while we focus on getting your claim right and making sure that you are not, screwed over by your insurance and that you're getting all of the areas that you need.
Somebody wrote that you helped her and her son from a fire damage.
Yes, that's actually yes, that guy, he actually is a gentleman. And yes, I did help them just recently. And that's to be honest, that's one of the best situations I feel that I've been able to help somebody, one of many. His was a perfect example of the insurance company only wanting to pay $50,000. I've mentioned this one on the previous shows, and the insurance company ended up paying $216,000 after we got involved. That's a humongous gap. That's huge. And when I went there and I met with his insurance company and I explained to them, hey, why didn't you write the roof into the estimate? And they said, okay, well, we'll give you the roof. It's all a matter of the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You've got to show the insurance company where you're lacking. But imagine that. How terrible is that? If you're dealing with a situation like that and you're that homeowner and you don't know that, how are you going to recover that? Even if you don't know. It's something that this gentleman, his name is Guillermo, this gentleman was able to experience the importance of it. But this isn't something that's exciting for him. Him and his son are currently still dealing with a situation in his home. Now he's getting the funds,
Well, we got less than a minute. Your show goes by so fast. Tell people again who are listening on radio right now on iHeart and some of our audio only, how they can reach you.
Well, first I wanted to say thank you to Guillermo for writing that. I actually saw it pop up on the screen, and I appreciate him. That was one of the that was really one of the best, most rewarding situations I've been able to deal with to date. And so I'm sorry, you said that if I give you the iHeart radio?
No, we have people who only have audio,
Oh.
so they don't see your phone number on the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So it's 800-593-9853. That's our office line. And you could also reach us through, well, we have Instagram and Facebook, which would be, if you look up exclusive PIA, you will find us both on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And we have our website, www.exclusivepiaclaims.com.
Joy is with us every month. Boy, as we get closer, I mean, July could be the month. I'm telling you, you want to make sure that you write her phone number down, her website. Joy, thank you so much. Your show goes by so fast.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
see you
I
again
also
next
want to
month.
say, if anybody has any denied claims or any claims that have been underpaid, or they're not sure, they could always reach out to us. And not just them. Think about your friends and your family. Anybody that you know that needs help, asking us questions can never hurt. We could just benefit you and help you out. And I appreciate you so much, Steve, for having me on the show.
Thank you, Joy. We love you. We'll see you next month.
Love you too.
Folks, I'm telling you, I hope you wrote that phone number down. We're going to go to a break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.